fellowship with God. Hindi lang worship, hindi lang magbabow down, but a fellowship with God. And then, kaya patotohanan ni John yun. Why? Because he had fellowship with Jesus. So, it was mind-blowing for the Greeks. The word fellowship has in it not only the idea of relationship, but also of sharing a common life. And when we have fellowship with Jesus, when we share this common life with Him, ano mangyayari? How do you know if someone is sharing life with Jesus? You become more like Him. Pansinin ninyo yung mga nagmamahalang mag-asawa. Ano nangyayari? Pag nakita mo, madalas sasabihin, magkamukha na kayong dalawa. Pareho na kayo. Di ba? Have you heard that statement? Na dahil nagmamahalang kayo, palagi kayong magkasama and everything, and you working, nagiging magkamukha kayo. Even yung anak mo, minsan kamukha ng asawa mo, pero dahil minamahal mo yung anak mo, and you show you nurture, you give, makita mo, yung anak mo, nagiging kamukha mo na rin, kahit mas kamukha ng asawa mo. Buti na lang, love ko si Derek eh. Noong una, si Tess Miranda, lagi sinasabi, kamukha ka ng nanay mo, pero kamukha ka ng tatay mo ngayon. Di ibig sabihin, gwapo. But the point is, okay, going back, the point is, I'm just trying to guys make you laugh. The point is, when you have fellowship with Jesus, you become like Him. You become like Him. That's the result of a fellowship with Jesus. You become like Him. And that's the whole point now. Why we fellowship here? Because you have your own fellowship with Jesus, with God, then you fellowship with others. Ano nangyayari? You help them to become like Christ, or they help you become like Christ as well. Because assuming that they also have a fellowship with Jesus. So, kaya nga when you understand this fellowship now with the Father and Jesus, it should be seen in your life. Because you're fellowshipping with God, you're fellowshipping with Jesus, Jesus should be seen in you. You should be becoming more like Jesus. You should become nagiging God-like ka na in your attitude, the way you carry yourself. Kaya nga, we enter into a relationship of a shared life with Jesus. We share our life with Him, and then He shares His life with us. Kaya nga tayo nagiging Christ-like because sinashare niya kung sino siya sa atin. Kaya nga, here's the thing. That you may also have fellowship with us. We may think it's curious that John first considers fellowship with God's people. Bakit? Because this is how often people come to experience a relationship with God. Paano? Okay? They come to a relationship with God. Their first encounter God through relationship with God's people. Maybe they don't see God, but they first encounter God when they fellowship with Christians, with God's people. Yeah. So, now, you take it deeper. Now you ask yourself, when people encounter you, do they have an encounter with God? When people fellowship with you, do they encounter God? Do they see God? Do they get a glimpse of God? Kasi, when you have fellowship with God, it should be seen in our lives. Kaya ngayon yung question ko eh. Will people encounter God when they have fellowship with you? And for me, that's something that, okay. Even nga, sabi ko, when I was making this, I thought of it every single morning. When people talk to me, do they get a glimpse of God? When people fellowship with me, do they feel God? When people feel my fellowship, do they experience God in a way that they would not experience when they are not part of this church or they are not in this fellowship? Kasi yun yung inaasahan ni God sa atin ngayon. That when I talk to you, even though I'm the leader and you're in a way, okay, as far as role is concerned, you're the member, I should still feel God in you because you have your own fellowship with God. Na hindi lang, kaya nga sabi ko, hindi lang dependent sa akin. All of us should reflect God. And it should be seen. It should be seen. And anong result ng relationship na to? When we fellowship with God, we fellowship with Jesus, and then it has an effect in our fellowship with one another. Ano magiging result nun? The result of relationship, ang sinabi in verse 4, we write this to make our joy complete. That your joy may be complete. The result of fellowship is fullness of joy, complete joy. And this joy is an abiding sense of optimism and cheerfulness based on God. Based on God. As opposed to happiness. Ang happiness kasi, okay, which is a sense of optimism and cheerfulness based on circumstances. Joy is based on God. Happiness is based on circumstances. That's why Paul can say, okay, rejoice in the Lord always. I say it again, rejoice. Kahit marami siyang challenge, he can rejoice. Why? Because he rejoiced in God, not in circumstances. Tayo, masaya tayo kapag may sahod tayo. Sino dito masaya kapag walang sahod? Malamang lahat tayo malungkot. Kasi nga, happiness is based on circumstance. Pero how can a single still be joyful? Even if she reaches an age where supposedly married na siya, pero hindi pa rin siya married. How can she be joyful? Because her joy is in the Lord. She's complete. And I think for many of us, we tend to mix up joy and happiness. We come to church, hindi tayo happy. Circumstances. But when you come to church, you don't come to church because of circumstances. You come to church because of God. And if because ang source ng joy mo is God, then you have joy in the fellowship. It doesn't remove the fact na may struggle ka. Having joy doesn't mean na wala kang struggle o problema. Let me make that clear. Hindi nangangahulugan na you're rejoicing and you're praising God na wala kang problema sa trabaho o wala kang inisip sa eskwelahan o yung circumstances mo hindi maganda. No. But you're joyful because you know God is bigger than your circumstance. You're joyful because you know that God will meet all of your needs. And even though wala yung need mong yun ngayon, you have trust in God that He will meet your need. That's why you come to church, you fellowship with one another, there's joy Because your joy is based on God. And I think we've allowed the evil one to rob us of our joy. We allowed the evil one to rob us of our joy. And we need to recover our joy back. A Christian's joy is important. We're assaulted from many fronts. External circumstances, moods, emotions, or even sin can take away your joy. Yet, ang joy natin is not found on the things of this world, as good as they might be. As good as things of this world is. Yeah. When John wrote about these things, he wrote about this relationship of fellowship and the love we can share with God and the Father, Jesus Christ, which brings us joy. Kaya nga mga kapatid, we have to recover our joy. Alam niyo yun? If you recover joy in the fellowship, if yung kagaya sinasabi that your joy may be complete when you have fellowship with God, you have fellowship with Jesus, you have fellowship with one another, ang bunga, your joy will be complete. Then, ano ang nakita kong magiging product niyan? Once your joy is complete, devotion. Naalala ko tuloy yung kanta ni Olivia Newton-John. So, makabilang buhay na rin siya. Yung sinabi niya sa kanta na hopelessly devoted to you. Sabi niya, hopelessly devoted. But I want to change that. It's not hopelessly devoted, but faithfully devoted to God. Now, when joy is complete in your life, you're devoted. You're devoted. And when you're devoted, ano mangyayari? You don't even debate pa if you're going to worship God. You don't even say pa na layo naman yan. You don't even think about, teka muna, mukhang wala naman ako ibibigay ngayon. Ito lang. Kahit anong meron ka, you'll give, just like the poor widow. Because you're devoted. And I'm blown away. Yung mga deboto na ibang relihiyon, ano ginagawa nila? Because they're devoted. Kahit mahirap. And we look at them, it's like, grabe naman itong mga ito. Talagang mga kahit sabihin mo nagkakagulo ron. But because they're devoted to what they believe, they do that. They do crazy things. Now, the question is this. Are we devoted to what we believe na supposedly our joy is complete? Nahihiya ba tayong mag-share ng faith? Baka kung ano isipin ng kapitbahay ko o nung katabi ko sa eskwelahan, baka sabihin ano ko. Lalo na ngayon, may mga naglalabasa sa internet. Iniisip mo yung sinasabi nila? Sabi ko, grabe no? When you're devoted, you don't even care. Because you know you're complete in the eyes of God, it doesn't matter